Hello everyone. After I posted my previous video with an overview of my BuzzKill project, I was somewhat surprised to receive some comments and messages asking for more details about how it worked and even where to get one. The reason I was surprised is that I wasn't actually trying to advertise it, at least not yet, but I'm glad it did spark some interest, so I thought I would go ahead and show a little bit more about it and answer some of the questions I got about it. And it is ultimately my intention to make this available as a product, either as a pre-made board or at least as an open source design so people can make their own. So if this is something that does interest you, please let me know. It may influence how I move forward with this. So I've made this little control app to make it easier to control the settings and play around with things. The chip is actually controlled by a set of registers, and you can see the total register set right here. Assigning values to these registers is what really controls the chip, but the interface breaks all the possible settings out into separate controls that are much more intuitive. When I change one of the controls, you can see what's really going on is it's changing one or more of the register values. Like for instance, if you look right here, I can change the value and you can see it change in the register set here. So what's really happening is the register value is being changed and then that's being sent to the chip to actually control the settings. There are 8 oscillators total, 4 that are audible that are called voice oscillators, and then 4 modulation oscillators that aren't audible but can be used to modify the voice oscillators in various ways. I'll just get a basic sound going here. Let's say 500 hertz. Now I'll set a volume level because otherwise you won't be able to hear it. Here we go. And finally I can activate it by turning on what's called the gate. There we go, a simple 500 hertz sine wave. The gate is basically just like an on-off switch, so on, off, on, off. There's no envelope set, so it's just full on, full off. If I want, I can set, let's set a some kind of attack rate. So now you can hear that. You can hear fade in. Now it's still instant off, but you can hear fade in, instant off, unless I set I similarly set a release rate like I set the attack rate. Now it should fade in and fade out. Fade in and out. Every oscillator has 8 waveforms available. I can change those and you can hear the difference. You may notice I only have 7 in the actual list. That's because the 8th one is a custom option where you can just specify 256 output values and basically make a wave that's anything that you want. I haven't made an interface for that specifically, so that's not in the list right now. These options here I won't really go into because I covered it in the intro video pretty well. Also, if you wanted to see any of these waveforms on a scope, I did that in the intro video as well, so you can check that out too. The modulating oscillators have all the same basic settings. The key here is the patches section, which links the mod oscillators to the voice oscillators. Let me turn my 500 hertz tone back on. And let's say I'll put a 2 hertz on the modulating oscillator. Now, let's see, put a value here. I can link that to the voice oscillator it's going to modify the frequency. Now, hopefully you can hear that. Let me turn the volume up a little bit. Maybe a little more. Okay, hopefully you can hear that fine. What's happening is the baseline is still the 500 hertz tone, and the modulation oscillator at 2 hertz is modulating the frequency, so you get this kind of siren effect. You can change the waveform of the oscillator, of the modulation oscillator, and hear the difference. Like here's a saw wave, which is basically a ramp up and then a restart. A triangle, which goes up and then down. And that's just kind of a straight jump back and forth. This is also where having a reverse or an invert is handy. For instance, here you can hear that it's sweeping up. If I wanted it to sweep down, I could just invert it, and then it's going the opposite direction. You can get some pretty neat effects by using a noise waveform, which in effect just randomly shifts the frequency of the bass around, like that. There's a lot of other patch options too, like that's modifying the frequency. We can modify the amplitude. It's easier if I put this back on, let's see, sine wave. Now you can hear what it's doing is the 500 hertz tone is still playing, but now the amplitude is being shifted up and down by the modulation. We can modulate the gate, which, let's see, put something there. You can't hear it that well with the attack rate. Let's turn off the attack, so there you go. So it's modulating the gate, which in effect is just turning this note on and off at the 2 hertz rate. We can do a hard sync and a soft sync. I won't go too much into that. Those are borrowed from standard synthesizers. You can Google that if you really wanted any more details. There's also a ring modulation, which is also basically borrowed from music synthesizers. You can use that to get some really interesting, like kind of like bell and gong and tones like that. You might have noticed that some of these aren't filled in yet. The patches are still kind of a work in progress. I'll put a few more in. I'll probably rename some of these so they make a lot more sense in the future, but still a bit of a work in progress there. There are 5, let me turn this off here. There are 5 total patches and you can stack them all up. So if you get a few oscillators going and 5 different patches going, you can create some really complicated, complex sounds that will just kind of like repeat on their own without having to send any more commands. Now I'll briefly cover the speech mechanism. I say briefly because it's a deep topic and the code is pretty involved, but conceptually it's pretty simple. When you activate the speech mode, it takes control of the frequencies and the amplitudes of the voice oscillators. So it doesn't matter then what you have filled in here, it's going to get overridden by the speech module. The waveforms need to be set properly though. And it doesn't do that automatically because you can actually set those to different things for various effects. So that's really left up to you. The most basic way to set it is a sine wave for the first 3 oscillators and a noise wave for the 4th one. So I have a preset button here basically that does that for you. Sets the waveforms up and sets the volumes in an appropriate way. It also has 2 different patch options, and we'll go through that in a second. I'll just leave it on the default for the moment. The only thing we have left to do is put a pitch in, a good pitch to start with. Let's say 150 hertz. That makes a good speech value for right now. Now we just need something to say. We'll be working with phonemes, which are individual units of sound like a single vowel or consonant. Internally, they're assigned numbers, but for the interface, I've arbitrarily made a set of tokens, each 2 characters long, to represent each phoneme, just so we can type them easily. It's actually a lot easier than I'm probably making it sound. So let me just give an example if we want to enter the word hello. We just need to think of the individual sounds. So the initial H sound, and then there's a vowel, eh, and an L sound, and a final vowel, which is a O sound. So that should sound like hello. Here we go.
Hello.
Okay, not bad. Here we go again.
Hello.
Okay. Now we can add some more to the end of it, like if we wanted to say, for instance, hello, my name is BuzzKill. I've already got the hello. We can just add, let's see, the M sound, and my name. I have to just kind of think of the individual sounds here. And is spelled with an S, of course, but it sounds like a Z, so it's a Z. It's a sound. Okay, that's that I vowel again. Okay, I think I got that right. Let's see what that sounds like.
Hello, my name is BuzzKill.
Okay, and one more time.
Hello, my name is BuzzKill.
Okay, not bad. Now, I mentioned before that there were two different patches we can use here. Let me just give you an example of the other one, just a slightly different sound.
Hello, my name is BuzzKill.
Oh, did I set that? Here we go.
Hello, my name is BuzzKill.
And then back to the first one.
Hello, my name is BuzzKill.
Okay, there we go. So just two slightly different ways to do it that I've discovered so far. There's actually lots of different patches that kind of do the same thing, have slightly different sounds. I may find one that sounds better, and then I'll add it as a preset as well. Now we can also change the pitch here. This is just controlled by this oscillator value right here. We could go up. Let's see, what if we go up to 300, for instance? Or we could go down to, let's say 70. What does that look like? Sound like, I should say. And we can independently control the speech right here. Let's say, let's take that down to 80. Or up the other direction to maybe say 200. And of course, like I say, that's completely independent of the pitch. So we could have fast and high, or slow and high, or any combination. The rest of these settings are for shifting what are called the formants. There are 3 frequency formants. They each have a frequency element and an amplitude element. The fourth one is for the breath sound, which is not technically a formant, but we can kind of treat it that way for the interface. Won't go too much into that because it's a deep topic in itself. You can Google vocal formants and get more information than you would ever want. But you can just play around with them for fun, you know. For now, let's say, let's make this 80, and let's say something random. See, and you can, let's see, what if we go the other direction on this, and back on this, set those. Okay. It's a lot of gibberish, but you know, it's fun to play around with. And I didn't really mention it before, but these waveforms, we can set these to completely different things if we want, get totally different sounds. Not all of them are going to be great, but you know, you get to play around. Let's see. It's kind of interesting too. You can even set noise, and it won't sound too much like a voice, but you get some, yeah, you can get some interesting sounds that way too. I think that covers it for now. Please let me know otherwise. And please let me know if this is something you would personally find useful or appealing. I'm considering several options for moving forward and making it available. Knowing how much interest is out there or how little will really help me judge the options. So let me know your thoughts, and thank you for watching.